Avatar: The Last Airbender is undoubtedly one of the greatest shows of all time. Great writing, likable characters, interesting world building and magic system, all brought to life with vivid 2D animation. What more could you ask for? But if you had to pick only one episode, to point out the one that rises above the rest, which one would you pick? In other words, what is the absolute best episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender? To me, there are only 4 true contenders for this position. Others may be close, but these 4 stand above the rest. Let's start with introducing option 1, the default. I will call Season 2, Episode 7, Zuko Alone, Avatar's magnum opus. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, but it's definitely the most critically acclaimed. There are 100% way more YouTube video essays about this one episode than any other by far, and I totally understand why. It's the episode that stands most on its own. Pluck it out of the season and it will work as a short film no problem. That comes majorly from its direction. It's no secret how the writers took major inspiration from old Hollywood westerns and samurai movies. It's practically wearing its inspiration on its sleeve, giving it a lonely and haunting feel, just like how his memories haunt him now. The small and contained story about a struggling village where the military is abusing its power allows it to feel even more cinematic. It's the perfect story to really bring out who Zuko truly is. A man built from trauma, but despite his past, he still can't turn his back on innocent people. Focusing exclusively on Zuko for an entire 20 minutes was a genius move by the writers. He's Avatar's most important character, honestly even more than Aang in many ways, and Zuko Alone is his most important episode. How he breaks down his childhood trauma bit by bit and connects it to the family that took him in. It is also one of the earlier showings on how evil in this world is not black and white, as it was for a big part of Season 1. Not everyone from the Earth Kingdom is necessarily good, and not everyone from the Fire Nation is necessarily bad. That despite Zuko's past, despite his family's heritage, his title, there might be a little good in him. I also think they do amazing work with Lu Ten surprisingly. We never actually see him in person, and he's mostly used to aid Iroh in his development, but I think his death is used very effectively here as well. Zuko losing that big brother figure early on is the same in how Lee lost his brother to the same war, and Zuko stepped in to fill that role, at least for a while. Their scenes together are just beautiful. Zuko teaching swordplay in the field will always be one of my favorites in the whole show. Finally, the finale of this episode is simply perfect. Zuko being forced to use his firebending to accept and take responsibility for who he is, something he's been trying to suppress the whole season, is a huge moment for his character and genuinely just awesome. But even after all that, all the pain, all the memories, Lee won't accept who he is, so he rides out into the sunset, no further along his journey, despite his efforts. That is truly a beautiful episode, no doubt, but it does lack the story and plot implication of something like option 2, the finale. Avatar has 3 great finales, there's no doubt about that. However, one stands above the rest, and that's Season 2's finale, Crossroads of Destiny. It's so good, in fact, I believe it's one of the main reasons why Book 2 is often considered the best season over Book 3. Both are extremely consistent with top tier episodes, only having a handful in the lower tiers. Season 2 has the Cave of Two Lovers, Avatar Day, and the Swamp, while Season 3 have the Headband, the Painted Lady, as well as Nightmares and Daydreams. None of them truly bad, but weaker for sure in the grand scheme of the show. You can definitely go through each season with a fine-tooth comb and decide who is the best overall, which I'll probably do myself in the near future, but the biggest difference between the two is the respective finales. While Season 3's 4-part finale is great in its own right, Aang vs Ozai, the Agni Kai between Zuko and Azula, Zuko's reunion with Iroh, there's a lot to love, but it's far from perfect. Many say it's a little rushed, especially Aang learning energy bending, thus magically solving his whole dilemma about killing Ozai, and also Azula's fall into madness, which I'm inclined to agree with on both fronts. But Season 2's finale, Crossroads of Destiny, makes none of those mistakes. It is practically flawless. It might not be as bombastic as the other 2 finales in the series with huge action set pieces, but the writing makes up for it. Let's start with our main man, Aang. His journey this season has been centered, at least partially, around the Avatar state. We open on just that in episode 1, and we end on that here in the finale. Him essentially getting killed in the Avatar state represents his failures and his vulnerabilities and reminded him that choosing power over love is idiotic. He might have defeated Ozai with power, but he united the world with love and compassion. Sparing Ozai is who Aang is, and he learned that after this finale. But Zuko's journey in season 2 might be even better. Of course, Zuko alone, like I spoke about before, played a big part in this, but his whole arc is worth studying. More impressively than anything, it demonstrates that progress is not always linear. So often in media, we expect a character's arc to just go in a line, always improving or declining at the same rate. But that's not really how humans work. We have good days, we have bad days, having a huge realization one day and then just forgetting it the next. Improvement is a journey of winding roads, and Zuko's indecisiveness and eventual backslide in this finale feels very human, making his journey even more relatable, even though I don't think any of you watching has truly experienced being banished by the Fire Lord and Father for not fighting him. Aang and Zuko both taking steps back in their respective journeys leads to a dark and somber finale that hits all the right notes for the end of the second act, setting up season 3 perfectly. I also want to shout out Katara in this episode, because she does a great job, and her and Zuko's conversation is so good that it fooled a lot of people into thinking they should be together. Like, that is impressive. But unfortunately, being a finale makes it very dependent on and ultimately a product of the setup of the whole season. So maybe it isn't as strong as individual episodes because it can't stand on its own, unlike option 3, the outlier. The Adventures with Zuko in the middle of season 3 is one of the greatest runs of episodes in the show's history. I did consider all 3 for this list, but ultimately I think Zuko's trip with Katara is the best, with Zuko and Aang being a close second. Katara's trauma has always been a big part of her character from day one. Maybe not in the in-your-face way like some other shows, but rather in a more human way. She doesn't trauma dump at every opportunity. She doesn't need to. Her actions show it. The person she became because of it show it. Her motherly instincts makes total sense, having to shoulder such a role ever since her mother died. Her anger that she stores inside, the darkness that she carries underneath that optimism, the work ethic, that dedication, it all makes sense. This context is what sets up the Southern Raiders so perfectly. It might be the show's darkest episode by tone. It's a lesson on forgiveness, but not in the pure sense of the word. Rather, the more true version we see in real life. Can you really forgive someone who hurt you that badly, as Aang seems to think? Or is moving on the best you can do? That's up to the viewer to decide. The relationship between Katara and Zuko is also a super interesting part of the Southern Raiders. The contention between them wasn't a secret, and Zuko's searching for her approval allowed him to sort of be an enabler for her in a way. With his family and background and his own trauma, Zuko will not judge whatever actions Katara takes, and she takes full advantage of that. Besides the philosophical and character aspects of the episode is also just badass. Katara using bloodbending for the second time is a big moment, and she's just stupid strong. I love how this episode has trust in the audience. It doesn't provide any easy answers, and we can decide on our own where we stand. Comparing this episode with especially episodes from season 1, it's night and day. This is where Avatar truly showed that it's not just a kid's show. But despite all that, it still might not even be Katara's best episode. That title might as well go to option 4, the wild card. When deciding on which 4 episodes were the finalists for this video, the desert was far from the first that came to mind. But after a rewatch, I think I finally appreciate what it really does. It might be small in scale compared to the rest, with not much really happening in the episode. Though what it does incredibly is building character, especially for Katara and Aang. Toph is mostly there just to tag along, while Sokka is our comedic relief. And to be fair, he is funny. Cactus Juice Sokka isn't a meme for nothing. But this might be, like I hinted on before, Katara's best episode. Her motherly nature has been seen as a negative for a lot of the show by the rest of the group, often as the nagging one or party pooper. However, here we see the positive side of that. She pulls together the team when no one else could. Toph could barely see. Sokka was high as a kite. Aang was maybe at his lowest point in the entire show, and all of them were tired and thirsty. None of the others could have done what she did, and that proved her value beyond just waterbending. Aang's character journey here is also brilliant. Some might say it's a little out of character for Aang, getting truly enraged and in grief even more than when finding Gyatso, but that just demonstrates the love and bond he has with Appa, and him entering the Avatar state at the end of the episode after facing the sandbenders that kidnapped Appa is probably, at least for me, the absolute best use of the Avatar state in the entire series. The raw emotion and anguish is felt through the screen, Katara taking his hand, saying nothing, just empathizing, being there for him. It's beautiful. It may be short, but its impact is felt. It might not be everyone's favorite, but with its slower pace and character-focused story, the desert has a special place in my heart. Although, is it good enough that it reaches the absolute top of the best episode in Avatar? That is not an easy decision for me. All four are heavy contenders, with them all bringing different unique things to the table. Zuko alone, with its incredible cinematography and contained story, diving deep into Avatar's most complex and interesting character. Crossroads of Destiny with its practically flawless finale and gut-wrenching ending, while also finding time for character moments. The Southern Raiders with its dark tone and lesson on forgiveness, exploring a tense relationship and trauma. Or The Desert with its dissection of characters we come to love, breaking down Aang to his lowest while showing Katara's resilience. Remember, this is my personal opinion, and I think any choice out of these four is completely valid. Even some more episodes like the Firebending Masters are totally understandable to pick. But for me, and I might be basic for this one, Zuko alone takes the crown for the best of the best that Avatar has to offer. Thank you for watching all the way through. Which episode do you consider the strongest Avatar ever made? Comment it down below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps me out on my journey. But yeah, other than that, I hope you see you soon. Peace.